Hey, so I want to talk about a strange aspect of Chinese society. That sort of some other vloggers have put some stuff online about. Matt from the Jiao Nation put something on there. He put a video up there the other day about something that happened to him, and Serpent ZA have put videos up about this, about people they know, things like this happening to them. So I'm talking about the extortion and blame and claims culture of China. So yeah, um, before I moved to this apartment, about 2 weeks before we moved, me and Amy got into an incident in our neighborhood with somebody. Basically, that was totally not our fault, and this family ended up trying to extort money from us. So let me tell you what happened. So I didn't have to work that day, but Amy was going to work and she was running a bit late, so I decided to take her on my e-bike. So get my bike, go around the corner, not going fast, not going slow, just a very normal speed. It's in the neighborhood, so I'm not exactly going to be going full speed when there's people around and cars around and it gets quite busy, especially early in the morning. It must have been about 8 o'clock in the morning. So there was lots of cars going to work, lots of people walking down the road going to work. And there were cars parked all along the left-hand side of the road. So we were kind of just going down the road, like I said, not going fast, not going slow. And all of a sudden, this little girl ran from behind one of the cars and ran straight into my bike. She came out from behind the cars about 3 meters ahead of me. So I, both hands on the brakes like that. And then she wasn't looking. She kind of ran out looking the other way. So she didn't see me. So she just ran into my bike and fell over. We didn't hit her very hard or anything. And then, it shocked us both. And then we looked to the left, and then she wasn't with her parents. She was with her grandmother. But her grandmother was just sitting. There's a bus, not a bus stop. There's a bench there. So her grandmother was sitting on the bench while her granddaughter was running around and playing in the road very early in the morning when it's very busy and lots of people are going to work. So yeah, so we hit the girl, and then we quickly got off the bike, and we were like saying to the grandma, "What the hell are you doing? You should be looking after your child. Why are you letting your granddaughter run on the road and blah blah blah, stupid yeah." So she obviously said, "Oh, you shouldn't be driving that fast down the road and blah blah blah." But we weren't driving fast at all. We were just going the normal speed. She was instantly just trying to put the blame on us for the fact that she was being negligent and letting her child run about in the road. So anyway, we were just like, oh, get lost, I took Amy to work, came back. Obviously, this happened in my neighborhood, so I came back. The grandmother and the girl were gone as I came back through the neighborhood. Went to my apartment, got showered, had breakfast, did whatever, and then there was a knock on the door. So I went to the door, and the lady's parents were there. Now my Chinese is not great, but I obviously knew what it was about. So they were saying, you hit my door, and I was like, yeah, because, your grandmother was doing nothing. She was sitting on the road. I kind of acted it out for them how it happened, and then the mother got really angry at the grandmother, which is understandable, which is good. So I just explained it to them, like, it's not my fault. You should be angry at her, for not taking care of your child, and stuff like that. So yeah, then I called Amy, let Amy speak to her. Amy explained it again to them, and then they just left basically. And Amy said, "Oh, they'll come back tonight when she's home." So that was fine. So yeah, Amy came home. they came round to speak to us, but they came with another lady, which was the grandmother that was with the girl at the time was the husband's mother, and then the lady came round with her mother, the other grandmother, and she seemed to be a lot more with it. The first old lady was just like, I don't know, she was just like, anyway. And so they were talking to Amy for ages, just blah, blah, blah. Amy just kept saying, it's not our fault, blah, blah, blah. And then Amy, because I was sitting in the bedroom, because I really couldn't really understand most of what was going on, and it would be pointless me being there in the room while they're talking for half an hour in Chinese, because I'd heard about these things before, and I kind of knew what was going down. And I would have just got angry if I was in the room, and it wouldn't have helped solve the situation anyway. So, yeah. Then Amy came in the bedroom and she said, "Oh, they want money because we hit her girl." And I said, "No, we're not giving them anything because it wasn't our fault, basically." So Amy told them, said, "We're not giving you anything," and this is a very common occurrence in China. Like, it's not just towards foreigners. Chinese people do it to each other. There's a car crash, people will claim that they've got broken necks and they'll demand money from the person who tapped their car very lightly or whatever. So yeah, but I always thought it was ridiculous, and the fact that it was happening to me now, I just saw how ridiculous it all is, really. So so yeah, it's just like a way of putting blame on other people and then getting money out of it in the same time, which is outrageous, which doesn't sort of compute with the Western mindset of how things would happen back home anyway. So yeah, so we just told them to go away. Well, I said to Amy to tell them to get lost and that we're not giving them any money, but I think Amy said, I think Amy's told them, yeah, we'll think about it, definitely, we'll speak to you later. So they just went away, and then I contacted on WeChat. I'm a member of a group for English and British people, so I put something in there. That the group was really helpful. If you have any issues in China or questions about where you can get things done, you just put a message in there, and then people will help you out and send you contacts and stuff like that. So yeah, I put a message in there saying, does anybody have any experience or contacts to help deal with civil disputes? And I spoke to a couple of people, and and one guy put me in. He'd been through the same thing a few times. He had a incident. He's got like a big husky dog, and he was walking his husky dog one night. He lives in not Shanghai, he lives in another city, and he was just walking his dog, and some old lady was acting really strange around him, and he was walking to a bar. When he arrived at the bar, about 10 minutes later, this old lady and about 20 members of her family showed up at the bar and said that his dog had bitten her. So he ended up having to give her a bit of money, but he made her get rabies jabs. So he paid for her to get rabies jabs even though she hadn't been bitten, which are quite painful apparently. So that's how he kind of got his own back on her. And he'd had another instance where somebody had stepped out into the road similar to mine, but it was a man had stepped out into the road in front of his e-bike and he'd hit him and stuff like that. So yeah, it happens all the time, but this is my situation. So yeah, that same person gave me a few contacts of lawyers in China who I contacted, and I explained the situation to them, and one guy said if they have the hospital bill, like the little girl had to go to hospital, and they were saying to Amy that, we went to the hospital and it's very bad and things like this, but they didn't want to show us the bill or anything like that. They didn't want to show us what the doctor had said. They didn't want to give us anything from the hospital. So that gave me another reason just to say, no, tell them to get lost. If they say it's very bad but they don't want to show us what the doctor said or how much the doctors charged them, then we shouldn't give them anything. We shouldn't give them anything anyway. So so yeah, what happened next? So yeah, I contacted these lawyers. One guy said if they show you the hospital bill, you might be forced to pay it if it goes to the police or anything like that. And then the other lawyer said that unless they decide to take you to court, which would cost a lot of money for them, then there's no legal obligation to give them anything. All they can do is hassle you every day and argue with you every day and stuff like that. But that's all they can do. No, the courts can't make you give them money unless it goes through a real trial. Even in, I'm not saying that even in China, like, although this thing is common practice, like, you don't have to give them anything. So I was like, great, won't give them anything. Not that I was wanted to anyway. In my mind, they can sit outside my door all day, all night. I'm sounding like a right stingy person. Like, I don't want to give them any money, but it's like just out of principle. Like, I'm not a stingy person. I'm not a bad person. I don't like hitting little girls with my bike and that, But like, if it's totally out of your control, then I can't see why you should have to cave and give money to these people. Like, the money is not going to help. The daughter wasn't even injured. So, I mean, if the daughter was injured and maybe she had to go have surgery or something like that, or pay for lots of medical bills, then I can understand maybe why they would want money. But the daughter wasn't injured, so they just want money for themselves. The money's not going to go to the daughter. They're not going to put that money in the daughter's bank. They're going to put it in their own pocket. So it's just that another thing that annoyed me was that they were just using their daughter's injury to benefit themselves, I mean, in the West, if you're, things like this do happen. Like, your child will run out into the road. That's fine, that's what children do. They don't really think about things like that, And these things happen. And if your child gets hit by a car, you're just happy that they're not injured, that they're not badly injured. You don't sort of go chasing these people. My argument with them was that if they were walking on a basketball court and a basketball hit them on the head, then that's their fault. They shouldn't have been walking on a basketball court. I got Amy to translate that to them, and they said, oh, well, this road is for people to walk on too. And I said, yeah, that's right, but your daughter wasn't walking up the road, she was running horizontally across the road. The road isn't for little kids to play on and run across like that. They should be supervised, which they were, but not to a good standard. So yeah, so we just told them to go away that night, and then we came back the next night, and they kept messaging Amy saying, oh, what are you going to do? Are you going to give us money, or are we going to have to go to the police? And I was more than happy. I was saying to Amy, go to the police, Like I said, I'd spoken with his lawyers. They were saying we don't have to give them anything. And, even if they go to the police will be like, sort it out between yourselves, The girl's not injured and whatever, But I don't think the family really wanted to go to the police. I think they were just saying that as like an idle threat, thinking that we would be scared, but we weren't. So yeah, we refused to pay. Then they one night left, one night passed, and they didn't come round, but they kept messaging Amy, and Amy just kept saying, oh yeah, we're still thinking about it, and we were just gonna so another thing the lawyer said was that you can just tell them no until they get bored, and if they just decide to leave it or whatever. So so then we came back the next night from work, and they were sort of standing on the corner waiting for us, and I was like, what do you want? And then they was like, oh, we just want to talk, blah, 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 blah. It was just the lady again, the lady and her mother. So Amy was like, oh yeah, sure, okay, whatever, come in. And then they stood there arguing for like an hour or so, and then I just sat in the bedroom, and then I came back after about an hour. I was just bored of it, so I came back in there, and I just said to them, I was like, what do you want? Why are you here? Your daughter's fine. You should just take the lesson, I got Amy to translate and say that you should just learn a lesson from this situation. You know, don't let your child run out into the road. You should be happy because there's lots of cars going very fast up and down that road, although they shouldn't do. They go very fast up and down that road. And I just said, you should just be happy that it wasn't a car, you know, because it would have been a lot worse. And so yeah, and I told them the whole basketball thing or whatever. And they were like, yeah, but you still hit my daughter, you should give us money. And I was like, no, you're not getting any money. You're just not getting any money, okay? And I was just getting too annoyed with them. Like, I was just going to lose my temper. And so I was just like, so Amy just told me to go away, you know. One of the guys I'd spoke to in the English club, he said, you know, just don't lose your temper. It's not going to go in your favour. But, you know, I was about to, so I just walked away. And so yeah, how it ended was Amy, basically, not my idea, but Amy was just fed up of it, and she ended up giving them money. They wanted like 2,000 RMB, and Amy initially told me that she gave them 1,000 RMB, and then about 2 nights ago, about a month later, she told me, oh, I actually gave them 1,500 RMB, but I didn't tell you because I knew you'd be angry about it. So yeah, I wouldn't have been angry. I mean, I wasn't angry at her because I know that she didn't want the hassle. You know, she didn't want to come home from work every day and deal with these stupid people. And I mean, I didn't really want it, but at the end of the day, I'd rather them just sat outside the apartment every day. I just knocked on our door every day, and I'd just be like, yeah, you're not getting anything, go away. Like, but you know, Amy didn't want that, so yeah, that's just a nice thing that happens in China quite a bit. You know, even if it's not your fault, people try and claim money from you. People will try and step out into your car or ride their bike out into your car so they can claim money from you, you know, pretend to be hurt. Stuff like that is not very nice. And it really, when you're actually going through it yourself, it really makes you think like, like this country can be really stupid sometimes. Like, and the thing is, like, if it went to the police, just out of the police would have done nothing. Like, if this went to the English police, I'm not saying they're great or whatever, but you know, they would have seen there's no logic in the situation. There's no common sense. Like, the English police would probably say, so you let your granddaughter run out into the road, and now you want money from these people because you weren't looking after your granddaughter. They would have laughed at them and told them to go away or done them for neglect or something. But in China, the Chinese police would have just been too lazy to think about that. They would just be like, oh, sort it yourself, you know, we're busy playing cards or whatever. So yeah, not a nice aspect of Chinese society that you might hopefully don't have to go deal with if you ever find yourself living in China. So yeah, I mean, what I took from the situation was to just be more careful. I mean, not that I'm a dangerous driver on my e-bike. I've now sold my e-bike now, just because I want to ride my bicycle more. But I've just learnt that although you might not be a dangerous driver, you have to think about the stupidity of the others on the road, especially in China. I just coming home from work the other night on my bicycle, some young lad, like in China they have a bus stop, then they'll have a bicycle lane for e-bikes and bicycles, and then they'll have the actual bus stop where you get on the bus, which is a bit mad because you have to cross a road to get to the bus stop. You understand if you live here because you've seen it before, but about 10 metres up ahead of me, a young lad with his hood up, just like the road traffic was going this way, and I saw him, he was just looking like this, and he just stepped out into the road, and this e-bike, the guy nearly fell off, trying to stop, trying not to hit this young lad. He must have been about 16, had headphones on, and he just stepped out like that, and then 2 bikes had to stop just not to hit him. He's like, yeah, so yeah, you just got to be careful of other people. It's not that you're doing anything wrong, and because you can get in trouble for people doing things wrong and not thinking straight. So yeah, okay, don't want this video to get too long. Okay, if you've had an experience like this, I'd love to hear about it. Yeah, okay, thanks for watching. Peace.